So Leonard Peltier didn't get the clemency that he was looking for. He's been in prison for over 50 years. He's been in prison for over 50 years. He is the longest held political prisoner in America. Here's the AP article, Heather Hollingsworth. She wrote a couple things here just to make sure we get all of the main facts. Indigenous activist Leonard Peltier spent most of his life since the conviction of 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents in South Dakota has been denied parole. The U.S. Parole Commission said in a statement Tuesday announcing the decision that he won't be eligible for another parole hearing until June 2026. And then that parole hearing is just a status hearing for the other parole hearing in 2039. He's going to be nearly 100 years old. He's 80 years now. Now we're going to postpone it for more than 10 years. So he's going to be in his 90s, reaching 100 years old. His health is failing right now. His health, he's got diabetes, he's got diabetes, and then he also has the aortic aneurysm. So he's got an aortic aneurysm, diabetes, he's old. He's also innocent. He never ordered the kill shot, and he didn't shoot the kill shot. In fact, you had that Ribideau guy who said he was Mr. X. Robert Robideau and Daryl Butler was acquitted because they were allowed to plead self-defense, and they're allowed to talk about the violent conditions that were happening on the Pine Ridge Reservation at the time. His attorney, Kevin Sharp, a former federal judge, vowed to appeal. He had argued that Peltier was wrongly convicted and that the health of the 79, okay, so 79, I want to say 36 or 39 is when it's going to be 12. He'll be 81 or 91 years old when he gets he's the same age as the president. He's the same age as Trump. Hell, Leonard Peltier for president. The decision is a missed opportunity for the United States to finally recognize the misconduct of the FBI and send a message to Indian country regarding the impacts of the federal government's actions and policies of the 1970s. That's when they were running COINTELPRO. That's the second Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was just a flat-out massacre. One-sided, asymmetrical, just like the Mystic River Massacre, the Sand Creek Massacre, the Wounded Knee Massacre. Hundreds are killed and just a couple troops are killed. Custer's last stand, however, was one of the few victories for Native Americans. Those are the 2 original sins for America, slavery and the genocide of Native Americans. Nick Tilson, president and CEO of the NDN Collective, an indigenous-led advocacy group, he said the way they have treated Leonard Peltier is the way they've treated indigenous people historically throughout this country. That is why indigenous people and oppressed people everywhere see a little bit of ourselves in Leonard Peltier. Although today is a sad day, we're not going to stop fighting. We're not conquered yet. They were down, they were wounded, they were helpless, and he shot them point blank, according to Mike Clark. Mike Clark is a lying piece of shit. The government has no idea who killed Ronald and Jack. They've got no fucking clue who killed Ronald and Jack. And since they don't have any idea, they're just going to pick any of the Native Americans that happened to be around that day. And so if we were just to flip it around, so let's put Christopher Wray on trial. And if he just happened to be close to the shooting, he wasn't the trigger man, but he just happened to be in the vicinity, well, hell, that's good enough. Speaking of vicinity, the trial's going to happen in Fargo, North Dakota. There are so many holes in this thing. The damn trial wasn't held according to the Constitution. According to the Constitution, you're supposed to have a trial of your peers in the vicinage. And a trial of your peers within the vicinage means that it should have been South Dakota. He should have been tried by South Dakota, and frankly, he should have been tried by Pine Ridge Reservations. A reservation is a nation within a nation, according to George W. Bush. And so a nation within a nation, there was this fight between the old traditional Native Americans and the younger ones. There was violence all over the place on top of the FBI and the government violence. So if there was any people that actually needed a fair and good FBI, good federal police force, good cops, it was the Pine Ridge Reservation. Mike Clark is making up a bunch of shit. He's a fucking lying piece of shit. The FBI told Martin Luther King to go kill himself. They murdered Fred Hampton in his fucking sleep, right? They murdered Fred Hampton when he was sleeping. 100 bullets went in, one came out, and it wasn't Fred Hampton that shot back. All the Black Panthers are dead and gone, put in prison or dead and gone. And you even had Stokely Carmichael say that if he died while he was in Africa, he was poisoned. He's going to die in his 50s. He still had 20 more years to live. The FBI and their COINTELPRO, they just got in trouble in Colorado with that Black Lives Matter shit. They were sitting there trying to get that one guy to say that they were going to do something bad to the Attorney General. And the guy just said, well, I'm going to build up the rage, and then over the years through time, we're going to get something done. So he just said that he's going to build the rage and then organize, and then change is going to happen. So that's not a very specific plan, and it's also not he's going to do something to the Attorney General. The fucking FBI is sitting there planting fucking seeds, planting agents, and getting the agents to be saboteurs and instigators. We don't need to pay the FBI to put fucking terrible thoughts in people's heads so that way people tell the FBI what they want to hear. Tell the FBI the ideas that they come up with. And the guy's a freaking sex offender too. So the FBI needs to stop hiring sex offenders and paying them $5,000. Yeah, right. Justice continues to prevail. Bullshit, Christopher Wray. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Christopher Wray. You fucking right-wing, goddamn fascist, fucking racist piece of shit. We believe this decision upholds justice, for fallen colleagues and families, an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa in North Dakota. So he was born in North Dakota, but all this happened in South Dakota. It happened on the Pine Ridge Reservation right next to Jumpin' Bulls Ranch. Leonard Peltier was active in the American Indian movement. It began in the 1960s as a local organization in Minneapolis that grappled with the issues of police brutality and discrimination against Native Americans. It quickly became a national force. So because the American Indian movement was happening, we put them on reservations. Why didn't we integrate the American Indian, the American Native American, the Amero-Indian? Why did we not integrate them? Why did we not bring them into the fold? Why didn't we integrate black folks? The two original sins, we're doing the same shit in Palestine. Going to kill all the Native Americans so that way the European colonizers can set up shop. And then we're going to take black folks and then make them slaves and then undo the slavery but make them live over there on the opposite side of the tracks. Segregation. That's the same shit happening in Palestine and Israel right now. So I'm pretty pissed off about this Leonard Peltier thing. I'll read a couple more AP News bullshit. The Oglala Lakota Nation. So he's a Chippewa. Leonard Peltier is a Chippewa Sioux. A Chippewa Sioux. Nick Tilson is a citizen of the Oglala Lakota Nation. He credits AIM and others for most of the rights Native Americans have today. Why do Native Americans have rights today? Because of the American Indian movement, including religious freedom and the ability to operate casinos and tribal colleges and enter into contracts with the federal government to oversee schools and other services. The federal government's what, 95% of all the agreements with the Native American they fucked over, they reneged on, breach of contract. So you have that goddamn Andrew Jackson is going to have a Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears has never stopped. We put them on reservations. That's their fucking land. So why is the FBI on their fucking land? And why is the FBI on private property on Jumpin' Bulls Ranch? You got Leonard Peltier. Here's what the FBI said that was happening. The FBI said they were looking for Jimmy Eagle. That's who they were looking for. They were looking for Jimmy Eagle, and then they get into a fucking shootout with somebody that had nothing to do with them? That's freaking crazy. They said that Jimmy Eagle had got into a fight, took some cowboy boots. I've heard another article said he was an armed robbery suspect. Also read some of the transcript of elder visitor, late visitor, long visitor. So you have the Native American long visitor, and she was questioned, and they shot up Sitting Bull's house. They make a big deal about 100 bullets in the car of Jack and Ronald, the two FBI agents. They make a big deal about the 100 bullets in his car, but they don't say shit about the house that was riddled with bullets. Had 100 bullets going in, including a doll. There was a Native American doll that had its head shot off. The American Indian movement grabbed headlines in 1973 when it took over the village of Wounded Knee on the Pine Ridge Reservation, leading to a 71-day standoff with federal agents. Tensions between AIM and the government remained high for years. June 26, 1975 is the date that the shootout is going to happen. Not the shootout at the OK Corral, but the shootout at the Sitting Bull Ranch. And the shootout, we don't know who shot first. We don't know what the fuck actually happened at all. We know, Leonard Peltier was around, and apparently you got 3 guys in a truck. They want to say it's a van or a pickup truck. It's actually a Chevy Suburban carryall. So you have this Suburban carryall that's got 3 men in it: Norman, Charles, and Joseph Stunts, and Leonard Peltier. And Joseph Stunts is going to get killed. And they said he was killed by an FBI sniper. The Justice Department said that Joseph Stunts was killed by an FBI sniper. So we need to put the FBI on trial. We need to put the FBI on trial. Joseph Stunts was murdered. One of the 6 end objects for the U.S. Constitution is to establish justice, to promote the general welfare, to provide for the common defense, to protect freedom, to establish justice. When you say that the killing of Ronald and Jack is bad and wrong and shouldn't be done, but you don't say that the murder of Joseph Stunts was bad and wrong and shouldn't be done, you're not establishing justice. You're establishing a fascist gun squad tyranny, a bunch of death squads. You're saying if the FBI gets shot and killed, well, that's a tragedy which needs a murder trial. But if Joseph Stunts, a brown Native American, gets shot and killed, well, that's just something we can ignore. Who cares? Right? The old stupid ass sayings, the only good Indian is a dead Indian. Nits make lice. So who gives a damn about any of them? Just like what they're doing in Palestine. Just wipe them all out. They don't give a damn. Talk about genocide. Are you fucking kidding me? 40,000 people have been killed in Palestine. The asymmetrical warfare of the United States during the beginning is identical to the asymmetrical warfare. For 4 hostages, we're going to kill 250 Palestinian people. For 4 hostages, the whole world sees what America and Israel is doing, even if you want to ignore it. The reason why 9/11 happened is because of the shit we do to Palestinians. The reason why 9/11 happened is because as the policeman of the world, as the leader of the empire, we got to get things right. Domestic policy you can hedge on, but when it comes to foreign policy, you got to get that right. You're supposed to defend Ukraine because they're being invaded by another country, Russia. We have to do the same thing for Palestine. We have to defend Palestine because they're getting invaded by a foreign country, Israel. Israel thinks Palestine is their own, and it's not. Two-state solution is America's official policy. So June 26, 1975, the FBI just shows up looking for Jimmy Eagle. They just show up looking for Jimmy Eagle and a whole other thing, and now they got a shootout with Norman Charles and Joseph Stunts and Leonard. What the fuck are they doing? How did they fuck that up? How did that turn into that? Also, Jack and Ronald were plain clothes, plain car. So you're just supposed to let any random motherfucker just follow you around anywhere you go? Just follow you around, stalk you, creep you, and just... That's oppression. That's oppression. That's terrorism. Light harassment, that's pretty heavy harassment because people have guns. Somebody's just tailing you everywhere you go. Plain clothes, plain car. There's no fucking way you knew that they were FBI. No fucking way. There's already dumb shit going down. A couple pale faces are following us. A bunch of dumbass fucking white trash thugs. The Justice Department concluded that a law enforcement sniper killed Joseph Stunts, and yet we've had no murder trial. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Joseph Stunts was murdered. Did the FBI push for a murder investigation and a murder trial? Did they cover that shit up? They covered a bunch of shit up in the trial, too. I know we have an adversarial system, but goddammit, the truth has got to matter for something. You can't get justice unless you know the truth. You got to know the truth. Once you find out the truth, then you can... let it be adversarial. Robadoo and Dino Butler were both acquitted of killing Ronald and Jack. And so Ronald and Jack's going to get killed. But Robert and Dino, they were allowed to say that they were there for self-defense. And they're allowed to talk about the violence that had happened. The second Wounded Knee happened in 1973. This happened in 1975. just 2 years later. So you know this is a tumultuous time. We just came out of the 60s, it's the 70s, and it's Nixon. The judge is a Nixon appointee. Mr. Cops can do no wrong. They can beat up, terrorize, shoot anybody. No wrongdoing. Nobody sees any wrongdoing with flat out murder. If somehow you can pull out a badge and then come up with some tiny ass excuse or throw down a knife on them and say, hey, he came at me with the knife. See, Peltier is going to go to Canada. Robert Robidoux, he is going to sit there and say that he is Mr. X. So we have one person saying that he's the one that shot him. And then he tried to say that they died like men and they died honorably and shit like that. But then later on, when he's just talking to his people, he said that he shot them. He shot him like the warrior that Robert Robidoux is, and that the FBI agents died like worms. So Robert Robidoux says he shot him and killed him. He's acquitted and gets to walk free. You also have a Charles Manson murderer who gets to walk free. How many fucking people? O.J. Simpson was walking free before he died. They serve their jail sentence and then they get out. Instead, he's got to serve 2 life sentences. Because you came after the FBI family, so the FBI just has to get one of you. It doesn't matter who. Just like when we got out of Afghanistan. There was a bombing, people died, so we went ahead and bombed an innocent family. It's a good thing we got out of Afghanistan. We can't even exit properly, let alone enter and maintain. He goes to Canada, sentenced in 1977. I want to say that's the Fargo, North Dakota trial. Then there's an appeal, and the appeal is part of American jurisprudence. There's a bunch of Sixth Amendment shit. They didn't allow witnesses. They didn't call murder pallbearer. They didn't. Jimmy Eagle wasn't allowed to testify, and then the jury wanted to hear the testimonies of the. But they weren't allowed the transcripts. They weren't allowed to see the transcripts, and they weren't allowed to hear the testimony read back to them. So whatever they saw at the time, that was it. Paul Benson was the judge. Kevin Sharp is the attorney for Leonard Peltier. James Reynolds is a U.S. attorney, a former U.S. attorney who says we messed up, we being the federal government. Then you have Mike Clark and Ed Woods, who's pro-FBI. His latest parole hearing was in June at a high-security lockup in Florida that's a part of the federal correctional complex Coleman. So he's in Florida right now in the high security. So he's like one of the worst, like Tim McVeigh, he's like one of the worst. He's having to live the most oppression that the federal government can put upon him. Afterward, his attorney Sharp said the commission was obligated legally to look forward, focusing on issues such as whether he is likely to commit another crime if he's released. You have Kohler's son, Ronald, who said that the campaign for Peltier's release has been painful for the family. Oh no, I hope I don't get sued for my opinion about the damn thing. He's getting emotional abuse about it. Okay, I need to know what evidence you got that says Leonard Peltier was the trigger man. Leonard Peltier looked right in the camera and said he wasn't the trigger man. He did not kill those agents, and he didn't give the order. People play tricky games when it comes to language. When it came to Obama, Barack Obama said he was going to pull the combat troops out of Iraq, but he didn't mean all the troops. Anti-terrorism troops, security forces for the embassy, shit like that. They were going to stay, but the combat troops are going to come home. People play tricky games, so even if you could say, at the very most, Leonard Peltier was part of the general shootout, so he may have shot the car, he may have shot the tire, and he may have even wounded the FBI agents. But what he didn't do was murder them. He didn't go up to them and he didn't execute them. Robert Robidoux said he executed them. Robert Robidoux said he did it. Why does that not matter? Is that not kind of a confession? Because of double jeopardy, he's already got his trial done and over with. So if Robert Robidoux is the one that pulled the damn trigger, because all you need is what, 2 bullets, 1 gun, 2 bullets? They want to say he was killed with AR-15 bullets. They want to say they found a 22 and a 22-3. But they only found one 22 bullet casing and one 22-3 bullet casing. One was in the trunk. One was underneath one of the bodies. The other one's in the trunk. The 22 is the most common bullet out here. And the bullet that goes in the AR-15 can go into other guns as well. Let's read what Ronald Culler said. Not only has my family suffered the loss of my father, but we've been forced to endure the insult that Peltier has become a favorite cause and figurehead championed by Hollywood. What the fuck was Ronald and Jack doing on the Pine Ridge Reservation? Looking for Jimmy Eagle? Well, you didn't find Jimmy Eagle, did you? And then the charges against Jimmy Eagle is going to be dismissed. And he was supposed to testify, and he did not. Nor did Myrtle Pourbaix. Where the hell is Myrtle Pourbaix? We need Myrtle Pourbaix to come testify why she either A, lied about the affidavits, or B, lied after the affidavits. And we need to talk to Jimmy Eagle. We need to talk to Jimmy Eagle. You were looking for Jimmy Eagle, and you killed Leonard? Well, you didn't really do your damn job now, did you? Hollywood, music industry, politicians, well-intentioned activists who assume or believe he is being punished unfairly. I haven't seen the evidence that says that Leonard Peltier is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the threshold for American court system. To be a guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Not a preponderance of the evidence. Not a general probable cause. Probably he may have done something. But you know he did it. And you know it beyond any reasonable doubt. There's no fucking doubt. There's no doubt. All the presidents have been skipping over letting him go. So I guess if he was in there, 77, fucking Carter, goddamn Reagan, motherfucking Bush, all of them. So, is he going to get clemency? I'm not for sure. I have very strong feelings about this, and I'm going to do that in the second video coming up. So that's the general idea. That's the general idea. Leonard Peltier was denied clemency. He's not going to be paroled. He's been in jail for 50 years, 77, so that's 23 plus 24. So it's 47 years. He's been in jail for 47 years. He's going to be in jail for apparently another 47 more. And more coming up.